Today we are going to solve 2025 paper, GATE Biomedical 2025. Okay, so I found the paper very easy. This is one of the easiest papers that I have solved so far. Okay, having said that, I also notice that students, many students typically don't get marks. So easy paper doesn't convert to high average score, high score, right? So probably there is some obstruction, okay, in understanding the question or solving the problem, okay, with many such questions which most of the students are facing. Okay, so today our objective is to solve the paper completely. More importantly, we also want to understand if someone is stuck, don't understand, right? We want to understand some perspectives on what makes the questions, the way they are framed, tricky. Okay, so that is the objective for today. And okay, so there are also many new students here. If you're in the last month or so, is 1 month of preparation, does it suffice? 1 week of preparation, does it suffice? Right? Does it suffice is one question. Okay, and then you have more than that. If you're asking, does 1 month suffice? Right? Do you have more than 1 month? That's a different question. So many of you who are asking, does 1 month suffice? You don't have the option. So 1 month is what you have, and whatever best you could do with 1 month, that is what you could do, right? And most of the things that you need is there in the revision playlist. Okay, so this is also put up subject wise. You have all the PYQs, so that suffices, and it doesn't suffice to sit and watch the video or look at the solution. You need to solve it. You need practice for that. You also need practice understanding this gate way of framing. Okay, so that is the best you could do. And I do know of students, at least during second attempts and all that, with less than a week of preparation, 3-4 days of preparation, they have scored single digit ranks. Okay, I do know of that. So is it possible? Is it feasible? Is it probable? Is it plausible? These are very different questions, but it has been done. Okay, so let's get to this paper. Of the easiest paper, we'll go sequentially. We'll solve one at a time. Okay. Here are two analogous groups, group 1 and group 2, that list words in their decreasing order of intensity. Okay, they also mentioned, okay, this is decreasing order of intensity. Identify the missing word in the group. This order is explicitly mentioned, this is decreasing. Abuse, insult, ridicule, dash, praise, appreciate. Okay, so this verbal aptitude questions are hit or miss for many students. Having said that, can you certainly eliminate any options? And if you're confused about anything, what are you confused about? We have to do this pretty fast. The questions are not going to take a lot of time to solve, but we have to do this pretty fast so that we can spend reasonable time on most of the questions. Appropriate is totally out of context. Okay, praise, praise, this is sound similar. They mean different things, right? Praise is also really out of context. We can at least eliminate two. Okay, espouse or extol. This stage you have to, perhaps there is a confusion between A or D, right? You have to choose A. Extol. This is more intense, most intense here, appreciation here. Okay. Had I learned acting as a child, I dash a famous star, film star. Select the most appropriate. Had I right? So this is hypothetical. I will be again. I will be had I will be doesn't match. Had I can be doesn't match. Had I am going to be doesn't match. This is a hypothetical scenario, right? That did not happen. Okay, could have been. Had I learned acting as a child, I could have been a famous star. Had I, right? Okay. This many of you might find this hit or miss, but that is okay. Okay. How about this question? 12 musical notes are given as C, C prime, D, D prime, E, F, F prime, G, G prime, A prime, and B. Or 12, I suppose. Frequency of each note is power 12 times the frequency of the previous note. And so if the frequency of the note C is 130 hertz, ratio of the frequency is F star to F prime. What I want is F star, F prime, and C, right? We do this. If we did not get questions like this, right? If you have confusion, raise it. So in the middle of the exam, sometimes what happens is, so there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? That is what is mentioned. This is 6 ahead of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And at each succession, you multiply it by root of 12. Okay. Sometimes what happens is you take 12, you take 2, you multiply this 6 times. Anyone do or square root of 2 power 6? Okay. Did someone do something like 6 by 12? Anyone do anything like this? And then, okay, sometimes this happens. 6 into 12 doesn't make sense, but often square root of 2 power 6 by 12. That is a common mistake, right? This is a misunderstanding of the symbols over here. And then what happens? Square root of 2. Probably you're going for this, right? Logic and all that was correct, but what the symbol meant is where the confusion is, right? So you take first, this is the root of 2. Yes, by definition, 2 power 1 by 12. So now take 2 power 1 by 12, 1 by 12, is it to the power of 6. That is 2 power 1 by 2. By definition, this is root 2. This is B. So there is just misunderstanding on what the symbols is. Notice probably they have also set some traps over here. Notice this is set as a trap, right? Sometimes this does happen. So simple geometric series. Okay, let's go to the next one. Following figure shows 3 curves generated using an iterative algorithm. The total length of the curve generated after iteration n. Okay, so you got some 5 power 3 power n by 2 5. So things are all powers of 3. So 5 by 3. How many of you got this at the second attempt? First attempt, somehow you are confused. Second attempt, you got it. What was the confusion during the first attempt? This curve goes by the name Koch curve. Okay. Or did you even get it at the second attempt? At least at the second attempt. So iteration 1, it's that line. Iteration 2, this is. And this is somewhat of a tricky concept because, underlying this is recursion. If you're in computer science, you are very much used to this. Or, very relevant, something called fractal, self-similar structure. Did anyone get this? This is what we call self-similar. There is a question on will it be C, will it be B, and all that. Look for what is the change, what is the fundamental change. Okay. So if you notice, a line is becoming like this. Line. So color code this. And think of 3 bits to the line. Line converts to this. Wherever you have the centerpiece becomes like this. It goes outwards. Okay, or centerpiece becomes like that. Now, if you track this green line again, you have to make it into 3 bits. So I'm just going to focus on that green line. You got the green line. Yellow changes like this. Notice these two changes are essentially the same, right? And that is happening at each and every line. What was straight, the center becomes like that. Okay, that straight line become changed. And so let me draw the straight lines at least. So this was straight, it became like that. This was straight, it became like this. This was straight, it became like that. So every line is doing that same operation. So you could see at the end of the operation, okay, the total, what they are asking for, I suppose, is the total length, right? Total length. The total length is 1. Becomes after the operation 1 becomes 1 by 3, 1 by 3. There are 5 1 by 3s, 5 by 3. Okay. In other words, see if this is x, this becomes 5x by 3, whatever that number is. Right? For example, this 1 by 3 becomes 1 by 3 into 1 by 3. Right? So any unit becomes is actually 1 by 3, right? The length itself is length of one bit is 1 by 3 into 1 by 3. Okay, the number of such bits is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, a better way to see that is you had 1 by 3 that became into 5 by 3. So what was there? Again, the same transition is happening. From here to here, the transition is whatever number was there, that becomes that number into 5 by 3. This is occurring everywhere. And the beauty is it suffices to look at one aspect of this, just one part of this, and you can make a claim on the entire system. So you are into a series, right? So 1 becomes into 5 by 3. That at the second step becomes 5 by 3 into 5 by 3 square at the second step. If you continue this is 5 by 3 power n. So some knowledge about what the coarse curve, recursion, fractal, self-similarity helps, but this has to. The idea is it looks complicated, but you can gauge the pot by looking at one grain of rice. You can gauge the extent of cooking in the pot by looking at one grain of rice, right? Actually, what is going on here is more stronger than that analogy because this is happening at multiple scales. Okay, fine. This problem is difficult, understandable. The idea is very fundamental and essential. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. You don't, okay, really, literally, you don't have to solve or do anything to answer this question. You can look at this and answer. So what is given? What is the answer? I think we can directly say that, but again, most of you, if you face difficulty, what was it? What function is given there? What is this function? So this is absolute value by x. You could recognize this as negative of sine function. Gives you the sine of x. Num function, sine function. Negative of the sine, whatever is the x's, it gives you the negative of the sine. You could do it step by step. Okay. This is going to be, so this is negative of sine function, this is negative of sine function. This is sine function. X is positive, sine is 1, x is negative, sine is minus 1. Gives you the sine of x, right? This is sine of x. I'm going to write it as sine of x, okay? Signum. This is negative of that, minus sine of x. You could answer it this way. Or this is based on recognition. Let's try, okay? F of x is minus x by x. So mod x by definition is, if x is positive, it is x. X is negative, this is minus x, right? For positive x, mod x is just x. I got mod x by x, mod x by x. So if x is negative, this is negative. This is, again, color code this. Mod x by definition is what is there in green here. Positive x, it's x. For negative x, it's minus x. Because say x is minus 2, negative x is plus 2. You get the absolute value or the magnitude. X is positive, you don't just give the number as such. And what is here is there is an additional minus. So for positive values of x, it is minus 1. Negative values of x, minus of minus is plus 1. For positive values of x, it is minus 1. Negative values of x, this is plus 1. Option A. You could also answer that. Recall is not necessary. This is, at least you have to understand what is absolute value or mod x, that which is given in green. Okay. Fine. Let's identify the option that has the most appropriate sequence, such as coherent paragraph is formed. I always look for shortcuts. If I can save a minute or so here and there, right? That is, I could use it elsewhere. At the same time, so I don't want to waste any minutes anywhere. Okay. Come to that. So notice P, Q, R, S. So what is the sentence starting with, right? Appropriate such that a coherent paragraph is formed. So arrange this sequences. That's what they are saying, right? Such adaptations. Which adaptations? It cannot start with P. This process. Which process? It cannot start with R. So it's between Q and S. And technically, this is, if you really look for it, this is out of context. As environments change from what, like what, right? This is hanging. Change is hanging, literally. They should have described the environment, then change makes sense, right? As environment change actually technically is hanging. Sentence cannot start without context. That way. Then I look at Q. In the natural world, organisms constantly adapt to environments in responses to challenges and opportunities. Okay. So this is about organisms. Okay. And then when environments change, what happens to organisms? I get better context there. Okay. Q, yes, makes sense. Can go answer. Elimination will save you a lot of time. Elimination will also fetch you, lots of marks. Of one length, 1 meter is broken at two locations at distance b1, b2 from the origin as shown. Okay. So, okay, these are arranged 0, b1, b2, 1. Okay. Which one of the following is not a necessary for condition for forming a triangle using 3 pieces? Okay, how do you do this? B1 less than 0.5, B2 greater than 0.5, B2 less than B1 plus 0.5, B1 plus B2 less than 1. But what concept do we use to answer this? And this concept as shown in 25, right? 4 out of 6 papers so far. So almost every other year, little more than that, probability little more than that, this has shown up. But what is the concept we use here? Knows? So this concept as repeated is not particular to any one subject. Perhaps this is more mathematical. This goes by the name. So this is there in the revision playlist also. This goes by the name. Anyone wants to take a chance? You're talking about, I'll give you a hint. Inequalities and a triangle. Manhattan. No. This is much simpler than that. Manhattan hasn't shown up a lot. Triangle inequality. Sum of for it to be a triangle, sum of two sides is less than the other side. Hey, you're talking about inequalities. Is it form a triangle? Connection is hard, no? Is it Manhattan? Is it Pythagoras? Is it, nothing strikes, right? This is unfortunately very common. Okay, it's very important, triangle inequality, and this is also showing up again and again. So 2026, if it shows up in any form, be prepared to recognize it. Actually, this shows up in the disguise of maxima minima, because it's talking about bounds, what is higher, what is lower. Quickly give bounds and talk about maxima minima. But anyways, look at, so what are the sides of a triangle? If you say that, you got it. Sides of triangle. This is having identified there's a triangle inequality. This is the determining step. You're using the three pieces. Piece 1, piece 2, piece 3. Three pieces, the sides of the triangle are B1, B2 minus B1, 1 minus B2. Three pieces. You can read the right? The three pieces are not B1, B2, 1. Okay? Those are not the three pieces. The three given pieces are not like this. Pieces are, as I have drawn, blue, yellow, blue. Or I can, for ambiguity, to remove ambiguity, I can make this green. The three pieces are this. Now you apply triangle inequality. Okay? Sum of two should be less than the other. So you could do sum between this two, and then this two. Okay? So you got B1 plus B2 minus B1, that is the sum of first two, should be less than 1 minus B2. What does this say? Should give you a specific option. At least tell me that. I took the first two sides. That should be less than, that should be greater than the third side. Two sides greater than that side. C. So B1, B1 cancel. B2 greater than 1. B2 greater than 0.5. Option B. This is true. It's a necessary condition. Let's take the next two sides. Okay. So B2 minus B1 is 1 minus B2. That should be greater than the third side. Two sides did I take? I took this side. The third side is B1. Does this imply? B2, B2 cancel. B1, 2B1 is less than 1. B1 is less than 0.5. This implies option A. This is also necessary. This two, let's take the, the other two combinations. So B1 plus 1 minus B2 should be greater than the center side, B1 minus B2 minus B1. What does this imply? What does this imply? Took B1 1 minus B2, that is greater than this. For this now, quickly tell me now. You got B2, so 1 plus 2B2 greater than 2B, 1 plus 2B1 greater than 2B2. Get option C actually. This is 1 plus B1 greater than 2B2. So 0.5 plus B1 is greater than B2. You get option C. So option C is also true. What is not a necessary condition, or option C is also necessary by triangle inequality. What is not necessary is option D. Okay, triangle inequality is, see, no hard mathematics and all that. Triangle inequality, sum of any two sides greater than the other. That's the only thing, right? It implies I just answer. This is a question you should be doing at the second half of the exam. Okay, this question to some extent, many of these questions. My suggestion is 2 mark general aptitude, because it shows up first. You don't have to do it first. Okay. So this question is MTA. exam, you wouldn't recognize it's an MTA. They wouldn't tell you, right? While you are giving the exam, the supervisor or invigilator, no one will come and tell you, hey, question number 8 has been announced as a MTA. So this is known afterwards. There are MTA questions like this. There are also marks to none question, MTN. Marks to none. No one gets marks in this question. There are some questions set like that. The list goes on and on. Okay. So again, if I tell you 10 things, you tend to forget any one thing. Even one thing you don't remember. So I'm just going to tell you one thing. There is only one strategy you have to stick to. This survival first. So you are going to get questions like this in the exam. Survival first. You know how to cover your downside risk. Okay, but survival first. Do you know how to survive the gate exam? During the examination, do you know how to survive? Anyone? Don't spend more than, let's say, 10 minutes. Survival is not about cutoff. Whether you clear or not, you should have attempted questions. Whether you attempt questions or not, you should have read it. You should have had the time to read it, right? So don't spend more than 10 minutes on any question. No question is worth it. No 2 mark, no 1 mark is worth it. This question, so if a question like this had shown up in the exam, first pass, second pass, that is a different story. In survival first perspective, my suggestion is do it at the second pass, general aptitude. This is typically confusing. Okay. But there are going to be questions like this. You do scratch work, right? Is you completed this page, you completed this page. Still you are like now beating around the bush. The table you are playing ringa roses, but the answer is nowhere matching, right? In that case, you're going to next page is this page and all that, right? More than half an hour, 1 hour. No question is worth it. I wasted my time in this question. Yeah. So survival first. No question is worth wasting time. Okay. This 2 marks is not worth it. Rest of the 98 marks is worth it. Rest of the 98 also, there are going to be, okay, MTA, MTN, MTM, all of the MTZ, MTX, all of that will be there. Okay. But there are some 60 marks, 60, 70 marks that is worth it, right? As far as this question is concerned, the rest of the 98 marks is more important. Right. So this is the only suggestion. Don't waste time in a question. Okay. Don't spend more than 10 minutes. You don't have to look at your watch. You don't have to keep track of time. If your scratch work, the moment you have to do a PTO, right, the survival instinct should kick in. I'm not going to turn over the page, or I'm going to please turn over. I'm going to please switch over. Okay, that is a survival instinct. Please turn over. No. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to switch the question. Okay. So this is the only suggestion. Don't waste time in question. No 1 mark is worth it. No 2 mark is worth it. Okay. Not rest 98 marks. Fine. Let's look at this. Table lists the top 5 nations according to the number of gold medals won in a tournament. Also included are a number of silver and bronze medals won. Okay. Country, gold medals. This is relatable based on only the data provided in the table, which is incorrect. So at least, I always write my scratch sheet as ABCD, write true, false, and then finally look what they ask and then enter it. Okay, sometimes you tend to make silly mistakes, so you could do that. And here I have the options ABCD, so I'm writing true or false here itself. Okay, you don't have to. This suffices. So you need the sum, right? France will occupy third place with a list were made basis on total number of medal wins. So you need the total. Quickly get it 40, 40, 40, 125. What is the total here? 29, 27, 24, 90. Okay. 32, 42, 45. And then 17, 19, 16, 52. France is 16, 26, 22, 64. France will occupy third place in the list if it were based on, yeah, it goes to third. This is true. Order of the top two nations will not change even if the list is based on the total number of medals won. Yeah, this is 125, 19, 90. Right now, this is based on gold medals. Order doesn't change. This is also true. Saying Canada together have less than 50 of the total mentioned. Hey, what is the Canada? Canada has won twice as many medals as Japan. See, because I have to do two calculations, like US, Canada, I went to the next option. Canada has won twice as many total medals as Japan. That is also true. Canada has 90, Japan has 45. Has to be false. You can verify it if, as a sanity check. The answer is C. Organization allows its employees to work independently on consultancy projects but charges an overhead of the consulting fee. Overhead is 20% of the consulting fee. If the fee is up to 5 lakh, for higher fees, the overhead is 1 lakh plus 10% amount, which the fee exceeds 5 lakhs. Okay, so it's a real world accountant problem. Okay, this is more than 5 lakhs, the overhead is different, right? And then whatever the total amount is, the government is putting a 18% tax. The employee of an organization charges this amount, the consulting fee, overhead and tax. All of that is now put to the client's head. Client cannot pay more than 10 lakh. What is the maximum consulting fee that the employee can charge? So this is a maximum. He cannot pay more than 10 lakhs. This is the maximum. Right? So there is a slight you have to be cautious about one detail. 20% up to 5 lakh. So that this is 10%. Is it above or below? You do not know at this stage. You cannot know it before solving. So I'm going to say this is above, presume above, okay? And finally, presume above, see if the presumption holds good. This step is important. They can always set a trap where, the solution is actually below 5 lakhs. Okay, they could have cooked up numbers like that, but I'm going to presume this is above 5 lakhs. So let's do this numbers. So up to 5L, this is 20% into 1.2. 5 lakhs becomes into 1.2. Right? And if the person is charging X, above 5 lakhs is X minus 5L. presume above that is X is greater than 5 lakhs. What he charges is without overheads, right? So this is 5 lakhs. On top of this total amount, right? Let's do a check there also. This is 1.18. That happens to be maximum 10L. We solve for it. X should be in X. And this presumption is good if X is greater than 5. Can you solve for it? Tell me what is X. You can also simplify this. So 5 into 1.18, 1.2. Suppose 7.0, 1.18x minus 5 into 1.18. Okay, there is a overhead that I did not write. Okay. Percent overhead. Because I know there is overheads. That was easy to spot. So this is 0.1 into 1.18, 1.298x minus into 1.1 into 1.18, 6.49 L equals 10L. So what do you get x's? I hope this is point zero eight minus 6.49, 0.59. So 10 minus that is 9.41 divided at 1.298. I get 7.2496 L. Number is greater than 5L, so my presumption okay. Number is also over here. We can choose them. Okay. We started around 6:05, 6:10, right? We are now 45 minutes down the examination, right? Aptitude is time consuming, roughly 40, 45 minutes, just 10 questions, but it is time consuming. There's also a suggestion to do just because it is given first, you don't have to do it first and do it at the second half. Questions could be easy, right? You could do it at the second half, but whatever time I missed, I'm going to pick it up in 1 mark theory and all that. Consider two cuboidal blocks of volume 1 centimeter cube, each one made of gold, other one undoped silicon. What will happen to the resistivity of these blocks? The temperature is increased. What is the answer and why is that the case? And for gold, it increases. Undoped silicon, it decreases. Why? how metals behave. General, I do not know specifically about gold. This is how semiconductors behave. This is undoped, but silicon is semiconductor, and that is the only case with gold increase, right? That's the only option. So I'm going to choose A. So you got a RTD, then you got a thermistor. Thermistor thermal sensitivity is negative, RTD this is positive. Okay. Which of the following represents frequency response of a notch? This is best band pass, high pass, low pass, notch. Given the following statement, which one of the options is correct? Histology is study of histones. Cytology is study of cells. Histology is study of history, right? There is a knowing the word roots and all that is a double-edged sword, right? So histology is study of histones. Okay, both are incorrect. In the following statements, which one of the following options is correct? Structural MRI has better spatial resolution than EEG. EEG has better temporal resolution than SMRI. EEG signal, put a electrode, get sample it as you wish. MRI, you can get voxel information, right, from different parts. Structural MRI, functional MRI, you are thinking about a second. The trap really isn't, there. You're just comparing MRI and EEG. Okay. So yes, it does happen. Both statements are correct. You cannot put too many electrodes in the head to get spatial resolution in EEG. Temporally, you can get it. In the circuit shown below, assuming an ideal op amp. So for my first question at this stage is this positive loop or negative loop? That's a negative loop. No resistor, nothing. So this is a not even a comparator. This is just a voltage buffer, voltage follower. Put as output. Consider the following. PET uses radionuclides C11 15N to study tissue metabolism. But this is typically done in cancer and all that, where metabolism changes are easy to track. Okay, metabolism is drastically different. So reason for PET are incorporated in molecules that are essential for metabolism. So PET small atomic number, this is also correct. Okay. So both assertion is correct, reason is correct, and they two match. So assertion is correct, assertion and reason are correct, and there is a match. Reason is correct explanation for the assertion. Typically, where do you put, glucose and things like that, right? Okay. The determinant of 3 by 3 matrix M is 8. If every element M is multiplied by -2, determinant of the modified matrix will be A times A. Determinant of that is K power N into determinant of A. N is the size of the matrix. This is K scalar is -2 power 3. size of the matrix into determinant of the matrix, that is 8. So I suppose is minus 8 into 8, that is 64. For any continuous and differentiable function f of x with first derivative for all values of x, which of the following is always true for a not equal to b? Function is continuous differentiable. Derivative is not 0. Function can be like this. Function can be like this. This is not allowed. What they are asking is, this can be true, not always true. This can be true, not always true. Right? Now we are left with two things. Can be, can be. Those two are not correct. Which one is correct here? See, notice this is not simply not possible. The derivative is not 0. Values cannot be same. Values cannot be same. This case is not possible. This case is not possible. Can't be. What you are left with is, see, things, this is monotonic. Increasing or decreasing is a monotonic. You could arrive at it whichever way, yeah. So this is, they are defining a monotonic function. Monotonically increasing, decreasing, that will, you can get it from a slope. Okay. Um, you can draw a couple of cases like this and check, but the values cannot be same. Okay. If a is not equal to b, the function will also be not equal. Yeah. Different values, inputs are different, outputs have to be different. You could also say it that way. The closed loop system below. Overdamped, underdamped, critically damped, sustained oscillations. So what is zeta, right? Damping ratio. And solve for the roots or just find what is zeta, right? So transfer function for this is g by 1 plus g, that is 25. S by s plus 5 will cancel, put denominator and numerator. So what I got is s square plus 5s plus 25. So if I compare this with the standard form, omega n square, s square plus 2 zeta omega n s plus omega n square. This is the standard form. Okay. And quickly see omega n is 5. That implies 2 zeta omega n is also 5. What is the value of zeta? 0.5. Overdamped, zeta less than 1, zeta equals 1, zeta greater than 1. Okay. sustained, this is, there is no zeta here. So you got a underdamped system. This question also keeps repeating, right? Great. Which one of the following statements is correct for any second order linear system with PID controller? Control syllabus has basics of transfer function. PID is, so if you know basics of transfer function, you could also do PID. Fine. So we answer this. Proportional integral derivative. I am making changes based on the current value, and that is current error, accumulation of all past error. This is derivative is I'm doing hope, right? I'm predicting their prediction, but still I am predicting. Unfortunately, they are asking about integral. If I do accumulate errors in the past and account for it, over the long term, learn from your mistakes. This is what integral component in simple English. Learn as in learn and correct. Act upon, learn, sir, I will learn, but I will not act. Act upon, so, okay, learn and act based on past mistakes. That is what it means in simple English. If you do that, you're bound to improve over time. In the long term, you'll improve. So, steady state error should decrease. Right? Wisdom says get better over the long term. Good in the long term. Okay. Control system question, basics of transfer function. I try to make it in English and then answered it. Eigenvalues of the matrix are, so rotational matrix, eigenvalues are complex B, and I would move on, but I know you're not happy with it. So how do we do this? So solve for the eigenvalues. Two matrix, no, you can easily solve for it. Cos theta minus lambda minus sin theta, sin theta, cos theta minus lambda. Determinant of that is set to 0. So you got cos theta minus lambda square plus sin square theta equals 0. Then what do we do? Cos square theta plus lambda square minus 2 lambda cos theta plus sin square theta equals 0. Here sin square theta cos square theta is 1. And then we end up with lambda square minus 2 lambda cos theta 1 equals 0. So what is lambda? At this stage, either, if I'm turning the page over, I'm skipping the question. Again, marks are lost because this. Step back, trying to solve for lambda. You got lambda. Lambda isolated. Find it. Isolated. It is already isolated. Just find it. Take square root. What should I get? And say plus or minus, minus or plus. It's two values. Okay. I'll also write. Okay. But often, if you don't take that footwork is important. Okay. It's okay to even test the water, but at this stage, minus b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac. You can try that and apply and say, I don't know what you get. Okay. Cos theta plus or minus cos theta plus or minus square root of 1 minus cos square theta. Hey, there also you will actually get a big deal. Cos theta or minus square root of b square 4 cos square theta minus 4 by 2. So that is 2 sine square theta minus 2 sine square theta. Again, you can technically get it way. Okay, the answer is that way. Here also you're getting the same. R1, R2, R3 or the Reynolds number corresponding the following three cases. So fellow Ant-Man, right? So this is Iron Man. I said this in the class. Right? That Ant-Man fellow, first of all, if density and all that is constant, muscle physiology is same, his legs needs to be like really big so that it can withstand the weight. It cannot be this normal person, normal scaled version. I have said that once. When he grows too big, that is what happens. He grows too small, technically he shouldn't be able to run or something like that. Using the same because air, it is air for you. It's honey for a mosquito. Where mosquitoes are like now flying around. Imagine, can you swim in honey? It's very hard, right? So when you become smaller, the inertial forces increase a lot. When you become small, air becomes honey. Air is honey. Honey lake for a mosquito or a bumblebee or something like that. So this is too high, right? Relatively. So Reynolds number is small. I would use that. Understanding what is Reynolds number, I would go answer A. This is let's say this is R1, R2, R3, right? One is very, very small compared to 2, compared to 3. I can do that. This comes from understanding of Reynolds number. Okay, skip it. We answer that using info given in the question. D, U, and Reynolds number. Okay, and then there is a rho by U, there is a constant. Okay, you can keep that as a constant. This is 10 power minus 6. Power minus 1, 10 centimeters, and 10. Speed, body length in 1 second. So this covers 1 micrometer per minute. Speed is 10 power minus 6 per second. Speed is 10 power minus 1 meter per second, 10 meter per second. Rho by mu, holding that a constant. So now the constant, okay? You got R1, R2, R3. Can you compare the three? So Ant-Man should be like big leg man, Bigfoot. Scientifically, better name for Ant-Man is Bigfoot. Okay, whether it's Bigfoot or Big Thigh, that's a different question, but Ant-Man should be called the Bigfoot. Okay, so then his spine is bearing the weight. So that also will make it like that. Listing weights and all that, okay, reasonably good. Then he becomes like a teddy bear. Bigfoot or teddy bear is a better name for Ant-Man. Hey, do you all agree with option B? I hope that is correct. Right, yeah. So you tell all the stories. And, that day, that one day, somehow that you got one question incorrect, right? So you make a mistake. Something like that happens, then it becomes really absurd, right? Shape of the elastic rod of length L is represented by the position vector R, corresponding to the arc length, the bending energy. Stick to SI, you are safe. Hey, what is the SI unit of energy? Energy is work. Joule. Force into distance. Joule is SI unit. It's Newton meter. Okay, so you got Newton meter RHS. Then K you don't know. I am going to put that as a K. Then we got integral of derivative square. So some of us will put what is the unit of dou square, right? Questions like that is common, which is where you should quickly think. ds by dt, acceleration. Pick something very well known. Meter per second. So that d by dt has 1 by second unit. We have to highlight that. dt is an operator. Dividing by del t tending to 0. Right? That is per second. To confirm it, you could do meter per second square acceleration. You're nothing, d square doesn't get a unit here. So derivative, this is whatever this is, I put speed, okay, just to illustrate that. ds is a length, derivative we just discussed. So tell me the units of right hand side. I kept k as k, okay. So tell me now, there are two terms. So in fact, there are two operators. There is this operator and there is this operator. Operator will have unit. Is the unit of that. Or is meter, position vector, okay. Dou r by dou s is meter, s is again length, so meter by meter. Dou r by dou s square, this is 1 by meter. Okay. So in fact, at this stage, I have a slightly ill feeling. In actual exam, I might skip, but let's go ahead and do this. So this is that square term is 1 by meter square, and the integral is meter. I'll at least highlight the integral. So ds is meter. So your k has units of Newton meter square, that corresponds to, okay, kilogram meter per second square meter square. At this stage, this is mass length cube t power minus 2. L square. Where is that L square coming from? I know the key. Okay, I've seen the key and all that. We've already solved this. But I don't have the solution right now. But for energy, I'm just sticking to convenient things, familiar things. This is somewhat unfamiliar, right? Sticking to familiar, and I'm checking what it corresponds to. This is fairly easy. Kg is mass, meter cube is L cube, power 2, 1 over S square is T power minus 2. Okay. The mistakes, this is the difficult part. Okay. I've shown it properly. When in doubt, think of familiar things. Creation of an action potential in a ventricular muscle, human heart ranges from YB. Recalling. No, I don't think we ever did recall. But if you're recalling, okay, we never hardly memorize action potentials duration on an average. If at all you're recalling, the way I would recall in the exam is, hey, this is QRS is roughly 120 millisecond. Okay, action potential should be roughly QT. I know one landmark over there. this 120 meter cube. Compared to that, QT is, I have a reasonable figure. I know the scale. Action potential essentially is, okay, it should correspond to QT, approximately QT. Why? Because, many action potentials give you the depolarization, repolarization. Depolarization is happening here, repolarization is happening here. So action potential is starting there and then ending there. Okay. So what you're looking for is approximately QT. This is not QT. This is not QT. This is more than a heartbeat. 100 to 300 makes sense. I actually don't know QT interval. QT is important. Didn't recall it, but I recall QRS. Some detail. If you could do any of that, it will save you. Isotope, isotone. So it's atomic samurai. So you got A as atomic is mass number. Just set atomic samurai and then I'm writing this. Number of protons plus number of neutrons. Z, this is atomic number. This is number of protons. Plus same protons. This is it's an isotope. You don't have to count the number of protons. This is carbon, this is carbon. This is an isotope. Carbon 10, carbon 9, okay, carbon 11, okay, whatever it is. The same element. It's not carbon. I suppose this they have written C, okay. C12. We are now outside of that. C12, C11, we are elsewhere. So this is some material C. And this is not boron, this is not carbon. But how about this? Got 6 protons, rest is neutron, 3 neutrons. You got 5 protons, rest is neutrons, 3 neutrons, 8 minus 5. So same number of neutrons. So it has to be isotope. At this stage, we will make our guess safe. Isomer, isotone. Mer sound like neutron or tone sound like neutron. I suppose this is tone. Right? That is tone. Cerebrospinal fluid is present in the space. Subdural, pericardial is heart. Epidural, this is all, outer layers of brain, right? Subarachnoid, arachnoid space. You have to recall this. If you know this, you answer this. Rule out this. There is epidural injection. So probably some of you are wondering about this. Hey, if there is epidural CSF is there, why not subdural? Right? You have to recall this subarachnoid. Context of temperature sensitive polymers, LCST stands for. There are questions, you don't expect. Okay, there are no typical things. Phase transition, glass transition, solution changing. Let's see if we can make a guess here. it's all critical solution temperature, critical solute temperature, critical solvent temperature, critical solution temperature. This gets a vote, authority vote. Then large critical solution temperature, large hadron collider. It sounds like that. This lowest critical solution temperature. Okay, but something like this is best recalled. I suppose this is lowest critical solution temperature. ECG of humans, electrical signature of atrial repolarization is masked by dash. Answer this. I don't like when that ECG. Get the ECG. I really. Okay, fine. Atrial depolarization, ventricular depolarization, muted as atrial repolarization. Then you got ventricular repolarization. This is muted in QRS. Okay. See the depolarization. Repolarization is happening there, but there is a confounding signal from ventricles. Which one of the following hormones is not secreted by the adrenal gland? Epinephrine, norepinephrine. Cortisol, stress hormone. Anyone, you feel love in your stomach, butterflies in the stomach. There is no butterflies in the kidneys, right? There are kidney stones, no butterflies in the kidney. Aldosterone. In renin-angiotensin, adrenal system, right? Renin-angiotensin, aldosterone system. So RAS, this is also kidney. Yeah, there are reasonable ways to eliminate options. So this is kidney, okay, not kidney. An organ secretion sometimes function somewhat of an expected theory question. Which of the following does not use piezoelectric transducers? This is PZT, this is PZT, this is PZT. 3 or sound. Echo is sound, phono is sound, ultra is sound. Sono, phono, echo, sound, sound, sound. You need a piezo for that. Electroencephalography, it does not use it. EEG, you need electrodes. Low pass filter with cutoff frequency 250 Hz is not suitable for recording. It has the highest, what I am looking for is highest, broadest frequency content. Should be really messy. ECG 250 you can capture, right? 1 bit is 1000 milliseconds. 50 you can capture that QT, QRS, all of that you can capture. EEG, DTAP G, and then 3.5 keeps doubling. If you double it to 3-4 times, you hit 30. Functional parameters, 30 Hertz, around 30 suffices. 250 is more than enough. Electrooculogram, you want to see how the eyes are moving, right? Again, gross eye movement. This is, even your blinking is not faster than heart rate. So 250 suffices for this. This EMG muzzle is completely different story, right? To 10,000 hertz and all, sometimes you need. f of x is x minus 1 by x, value of this. This is a question many of you wouldn't have got it, but if you this should be puzzling at the first pass. Second pass, there should be one aha moment. We answer this. So, one thing is, before you put your feet, test the waters. Given thing, tested the water, not going anywhere. Okay, I don't have space. So what do we do? I'll postpone this to the second pass. While thinking, hey, this looks somewhat familiar. This is familiar. I have seen this time and again, time and again, time and again. There is a mild itch going on. I'll go back, try to come back. Does anyone, okay, now that looks somewhat familiar, can anyone spot it? L'Hopital's rule, again, the moment you start substituting, I ran out of space, okay? At worst case, I'll do second pass. This is not L'Hopital's. You want to find limit, but substituted, use L'Hopital. I don't know how this is going, but this is familiar. Yeah. The moment you realize what they are asking for us, indeed, derivative of the function at 1. By definition, it is that. Dash of x is 1 plus 1 by x square. F dash of 1 is 1 plus 1, that is 2. Okay. Elements of the data set -1, -5, 1a, 5b, or in ascending order. So fortunately, they have given this in ascending order. If this is not in any particular order, you have to really, jumble A, B, C, D. A nice aptitude question, time wasting question. M and T, mocks to none, but they have made it a mocks to some, MTS. If both mean and median of the data set are 3, what is the value of T? Median, this is the center number. For 5 terms here, the central number is A. A is 3. Then you do -5 plus 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus B by 5 equals 3. This implies your B. What is the value of B? So 15 minus 4. Median is a central number. Yeah, this again, going it that way is easier. Okay. Tissue with Young's modulus, 4 kappa shear modulus. What is the value of Poisson's ratio? Recall. Nu is E by 2G. That is 4 by 1.5. Kk will cancel. I suppose minus 1. 4a, there is also 2 here. G, 2 into 1.5. Okay, 4 divided by 3 minus 1. What I get is 0.33. That is a number you would have guessed anyways. 1 by 3. Electroencephalogram EEG voltage measured by a test device is 2.4 microvolts. The reference device measured as 3. Actually, this is a nice question. You know what is relative error, but they are really testing it out here. Okay, so del x error is 0.6 microvolts. 3 minus 0, 2.4. Relative error is normalized. Relative error is del x by x. What do you normalize it with? 0.6. You don't normalize with what you measure. That is not a, this is not quantifying error. You know this is error prone and you are quantifying error with that error prone number. This is not a good idea. Okay. There you want to normalize that with 0.6 with the right number, 3. Things are micro that will cancel, so I'm not explicitly writing that. And this is 0.6 divided by 3, that is 0.2, that is 20%. Okay. Yeah, kind of nice actually. This is, no, the committee is actually teaching you measurement errors, right? Time domain signal. So finally we got to 2 marks, 1.5 hours, but 45 minutes in aptitude itself, and most 2 marks are like 1 marks in this paper. Okay. And I'm also, I'm trying to explain the solution, so that typically takes a little longer than solving the paper. Okay. 100 pi t, 150 pi t minus 300 pi t. So maximum frequency is this, band is that. Your sample should be at least twice the bandwidth. So omega is 100 pi. You are only concerned about the highest frequency, right? So F is omega by 2 pi, that is 150. This is the bandwidth. Max, F max suffices. Okay. And then, so Nyquist frequency is greater than 2 times 150, that is 300. Only one option is greater than 300. Sampling frequency can be 500. You sample this, greater than 300 hertz. This was not in hertz, it was in rad per second. I converted that to hertz. Okay, sometimes you lose marks if you don't do this. Voltage source V is sinusoidal, I is sinusoidal. Average power dissipated in the circuit. The average power in the circuit? Of V peak, I peak, sinusoidal. Don't forget to put the cause of the V, phase of voltage minus phase of current. So that is half of V peak is 5, peak is 10, cos of 5 by 2 minus 5 by 6, 90 minus 30, that is 60 degree. How much is this? 0.5 into 5 into 10 into cos 60, 12.5. In milliamp, so I got a milli there. Okay. Just like that, you got to n independent trials of binomial random variable. This is not the first time you're looking at this question in GATE BM, right? If you have solved POIQs, this is a question that you can easily get. Binomial random variable yield an expectation value of 16, variance 12. What is the value of n? So they are saying NP is the expectation, that is 16. Variance is NPQ. If you have solved POIQs, you would have recalled this. This is 12. This implies Q is 12 by 16. That is how much? 0.75. Right? Q is this. This implies P is by definition probability of success is 1 minus probability of failure, 0.25. Okay. This implies your N as 16 by 0.25. How much is that? 64. Great. Given a function, okay, second order linear differential equation, constant coefficients, initial conditions are given, value of y of log y of ln 100. You have to solve for this. Ideally, I will be doing this at the second pass in the actual examination, but I'll do this right away. So the characteristic equation square minus 0.25 is 0. So this implies m is plus or minus 0.5, right? 0.5 square is 0.25. So your solution y of t is of the form a e power 0.5 t plus b e power minus 0.5 t. Based on the roots, I am writing the solution. So y of 0, that is a 1, that equals, if I substitute 0, this is a plus b is 1. Y of y dash, oh, I need to find that. Y dash of t equals a 0.5 e power 0.5 t plus b 0.5. These are constants. I'm writing it. Say read it. and I'm not going to make a mistake with it, so I'm okay with it. Y dash of 0 is 1 equals 0.5 A minus 0.5 B. So this implies this A minus B. What is A? What is B? A plus B is 1. A minus B is, if I add the 2, this implies A is 3 by 2. And I just added the two equations. Then if I subtract this, what is B? 2B is minus 1. I suppose this is minus half. A plus B is half. Okay, so I solved for it. I know that. Now we have to substitute for Y of 100. This is 3 by 2 A e power 0.5 ln 100 minus half e power, there is a minus there, okay, minus 0.5 100. Power ln, so things should, I just need to get rid of that power. So this is e power ln of 10 power 0.5, sorry, 100 power 0.5 minus half of e power ln cancels. What I got is 100 power minus 1 by 2. 0.5 is 1 by 2. How much is this? So 10 square root of 100 is 10. So we got 3 by 2, 15. And that number 1 by 10, 0.1, 0.1 by 2. They're very close to 15. 15, how much is the number exactly? 0.1 divided by 2, 0.05, 14.9. Lengthy one. The reason this is constant, second order constant coefficients. No, ln of 100, so the e and ln cancels, right? So in the e power, you got a e there solution, and then that e and this ln cancels. So I went ahead and did it. Okay. Circuit shown below. Input is 100 cos 10,000 t. Magnitude of the input impedance of the circuit. What is the impedance in the circuit? So what is it? This impedance? T1, T2, T3. So first thing, your omega is 1000. Z1 is 3K. Z2 is 1K. Z3 is 1 by J omega C. Okay, that is minus J. C is microfarad. So we got 1000 into 10 power minus 6. 1 divided that is 1K. And our Z input, T1 in series with T2 parallel Z3, right? So this is 3K plus 1K into minus JK by K minus JK. Z1, Z2, Z3 by Z2 plus Z3. Parallel resistance behaves like parallel resistance. Okay. I got rid of that. So k minus jk, okay, plus, not plus, there is a minus jk, minus jk. K is 1000, okay. Instead of writing 10 power 3, 10 power 3, 10 power 3, I'm writing. So ijk, what is j is root of minus 1. K is 1000, okay. So j is only a complex number. K is keeps things simple. This is fairly now easy to find the magnitude of this. Zin is, let's get the k out of this. Okay, this is square root of 3 square plus 4 square, real square plus imaginary square by square root of 1 square plus 1 square. Okay, and how much is this? Just took the k. Yeah, you want this in kilo ohms. 3 square 4 square 25, 5 by root 2, 0.5. Again, if you know resistances, you know impedances. Resistances plus basic complex arithmetic is impedance. Just Z1 plus Z2 plus Z3. Fairly easy. Fusions P and Q of concentration 3.5, 0.5%, okay, respectively, need to be mixed to obtain 3% solution, or how much volume in ml of P needs to be mixed with 100 ml of Q to obtain R. See, there are, so concentrations are in weight by volume, and you're asking about volume. So typically, so if you're doing some kind of average, you have to do harmonic average. Well, sir, should I do arithmetic average? Should I do a harmonic average? Right? If that confusion arises, okay, just use convert text to equation. Okay, let's say your answer is XML. XML of P, right? You're going to add that to 100 ml of Q. XML of P. So what is a gelatin? What is the concentration of gelatin in that XML? X into, in the 100 ml, it's 0.5%. That is 0.5. The amount of right, I mean that is amount of gelatin from Q. This is X into 3.5%, so 0.035. This is the amount of gelatin in P and Q. In how much volume it is there? This is there in total volume is XML of P plus 100 ml of Q. What X are you solving for? You are solving for this number to be equal to 3%. You put that in English. Total weight, okay, this is total volume for the weight percent. Concentrations are in units of weight percent, okay. Or fraction. So I have already converted percentages to fractions. We have to solve for this. Two 2.5 divided by 0.5. You got 500 ml. Okay. So when in doubt, notice I just went by English. Okay. So if my answer is XML, what do we require? Okay. Which of the 1 second? Let's power this. Which of the following is correct about the value? Y is logarithm of negative value. We don't know logarithm of negative value for real numbers. Yeah, this has to be complex value. Probably most of you are again stuck with this question. It's only one trick. What do you do? This one, there is only literally, in this problem, there is only one savior. Savior is someone who saves, right? The savior's name, person who comes, who rescues or saves somebody from loss of marks. So see, this complex numbers question, you can almost take this for granted. If it doesn't suddenly strike you, of your savior, which is Euler. Minus 1 is e power, that's at 180 degree. And technically you could, this is periodic, so you can put 2k pi. That is minus 1. Negative number was the trouble, you made it a exponential. Exponential and log gel, like husband and wife, no? So y is the child. We have to find the child. So y is complex valued. You can close your eyes, pray to Euler for a moment and check this. Is or, right? So you can check that. And then so you got y is ln of, log e I prefer writing as ln e power x plus j into pi, j pi into 2k plus 1, where k is an integer. So you undo the ln and e, and there is x plus j pi into 2k plus 1, where k is an integer. T negative be anything, okay? K is an integer. It's periodic. Either way, it's periodic. K is an integer. Okay, now x is n pi, n is odd integer. Is it n odd integer or n even integer? K is any integer. 2k plus 1 is always odd. Anything. K is even. I multiply it with 2 and I'll add a 1. That is all. Okay. So there is only one savior. In the exam, you can pray to a god and get marks. As far as complex number questions are concerned, that god is Euler. Okay. If you sincerely pray to him, you will get that marks. Which of the following statements are ultrasound waves are true? Acoustic impedance is directly proportional to density. Z. Sometimes Z is rho C. They give you a sentence, you're wondering Z is proportional to rho C. Z is proportional to rho. Reflection coefficient depends on the impedance. But sometimes you're wondering, hey, C is square root of kappa by beta by rho. And then so Z is directly proportional to square root of density. You get into some kind of sometimes this happen during exam, but Z is rho C. We'll stop there. We'll treat rho and C as independent. Reflection coefficient depends on the impedance mismatch at the interface of two biological tissues. Yes, Z2 minus Z1 by Z2 plus Z1, right? Reflection coefficient. Amplitude, nothing is mentioned, so this is amplitude. Angle is not mentioned, so normal. Okay, yeah, indeed. Mismatch. This is your mismatch. Okay, transmission coefficient is independent of impedance of biological tissues. Biological tissues do not reflect sound waves, ultrasound waves. Yeah, we cannot take echo. We can only take MRI, right? So two systems U and V are defined below. Which of the following statements is or correct? Again, another MSQ. -1 is future. It goes this way. T plus 1 is past. If you know how this thing moves left or right. This is, I see system V is non-causal. That is what first caught my eye. System V is non-causal. Yeah, I don't care whether this system okay. So in fact, I can rule this one out. System V is it linear? Then I have to go to the second question. So I ruled out option C. B is a possible candidate. So I look at this. It depends on present. Output depends on present value of T. Who is causal? No, I cannot eliminate something. I have to I have to deal with non-linearity. That doesn't help. If you square it, the moment it is not linear. Okay, product is not linear. Product self product. Seen that in classification of differential equation, right? You could also use definition, but most sensible students will recognize squaring as non-linear. Right? You double the input, your output is 4 times, right? Linear output should be 2 times. Output should double. It's not doubling, it's quadrupling. So U is non-linear. That also makes V linear. There is no squaring and all that. You can shift it this way, that way. Causality changes, but this doesn't change. So this is true. And this is also true. Okay. Again, in simple words, right? Sir, how do we answer this? Sir, I didn't read signals in systems to a lot, but so the question boils down to this. If we can recognize, hey, this is output depends on past input, it is non-causal. Okay. If I double the input, what happens? Does the output double or does it do something else? In this case, it does something else. System U. That is non-linear. Okay. If you double it, output should double. Input doubles, output should double. Okay. Which of the following pulse oximetry is to oxygen? You may observe this isobestos. This also they keep asking. So I found a mnemonic. I cooked up a mnemonic. Nike. Sick. Right? Most of you know, right? Nike. You know, there is an isobestos. Nike or Pepsi. So Nike, okay. The red color is the starting point. Blue also will downplay. Nike. Remember Nike. Okay. The isobestos somewhere around 800 nanometer. This is over here. So in this side, you got this is what I have plotted is the absorption coefficient. Okay. So red for oxygenated. This is a deoxygenated. Okay. This is approximately 800. Okay. Less than 800. Oxygenated absorbs less. Yeah, its absorption coefficient is less. Oxygenated hemoglobin absorbs less visible light. This is increasing. This is nanometers. You got isobestos around that is same absorption around 800. Above 800, 900 is in this side, and then 600 in this side, right? So oxygenated absorbs less. This is correct. And then oxygenated more light at 900. Let me again color code us. Absorbs less, and in this sign this absorbs more. Higher the mu, higher the absorption. Call it mu, whatever you want. Higher mu, higher absorption. Mu is absorption coefficient. Okay. Nike. And the mnemonic, it's easy to, I suppose, remember, right? The Nike tick is really rememberable. Okay. Which of the following statements is correct about neuronal membrane and action potential? Application of outward current. Hey, this is again this is a tricky question. Current is flowing in this direction in a circuit. Which way is it? The electrons, let's say, flowing. Electron movement, which way is it? If current is flowing in this direction in a circuit, any part of a circuit, let's say electrons are literally moving, they are not waving. Electrons are moving opposite. This most of you know. So things that are positive ions are moving in the direction of current. Na plus moves in. Na plus channels open, they move in. So there is a inward current. Current is inward. Okay. For that K plus will move, so the current will decrease. But initially Na plus first starts moving. And then similar strength increases the amplitude of the, there is a threshold behavior. There is a threshold behavior. Now I cannot, give a lecture on action potential. So friend is standing near a cliff. You want to push your friend. Pushing him very hard. You're pushing him slightly. In which case he is likely to fall off the cliff. Friend or enemy? okay, or a doll to be somewhat stage appropriate. This is literally cliff is a good example. There is a threshold behavior. Okay, there is a line, deadline, and the stimulus is trying to push it. Higher the stimulus, the faster it will cross it. Higher the stimulus, higher is the sodium current, the sooner the gates will open up. Okay, so increasing stimulus, then things happen faster. Okay, gates open faster. Which gate? Sodium plus gates. Okay, so latency is a delay. Latency, delay of effect. Okay, that reduces. Increasing signal strength make things faster. Delay is reduced. Latency is reduced. Latency decreases. Okay. On the other hand, whether you push him slowly or you push him fastly, that toy is going to fall down, and the story is the same. Okay. So the story doesn't change. Amplitude of the action potential, damage is the same in the analogy, which is reasonable. Things happen faster. Okay. So B and C. Discrete linear, this is a problem that we discussed, most of you could solve. If you understand what is impulse response, you could solve. So h of n, so let's put some indexes. These are all causal. So, all minus 1, minus 1, minus 1, minus 1. Things are only in forward in time, not in backward in time. So indices 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we'll stop. Let's say 4 also we'll put. This is likes. This is photo uploads. First day, I upload a photo here. I get 1 like. I get half a like. I get 1/3 of a like. 0th day, first day, second day. Then I upload second photo on the next day. So for that photo I get 1 like, half a like, 1/3 of a like. Convolution is the total number of likes. Output is convolution, that is just the total number of likes. So we discuss this. So this is index. Okay, which day you are uploading the photo? 1, 1.5. Okay, 1/2, 3/2 number, or this I suppose is 5/6. By 3, 0. So y of k is 0. Everyone forgets your photo, marriage, everything after 4 days, after 4 months, let's say. This is true. Y of 2 is indeed 5/6. That is true. Y of 2 is not 11/6. And you do have some response on the third day. Okay, you do have some response on the third day. That makes this. I have already given this analogy. Convolution, output is convolution. So convolution is this: what happens when how you get likes, accumulative likes, over social media post upload. They gave you 2 marks just like that. Which of the following statements are A? Just help me with this: isotonic or isometric? Tonic, same tension. Trick, same distance, same length. Okay. For everyone's sake, tonic, metric, kinetic, inertial. Put a iso. Iso is same. Isosceles triangle. Metric, meter, distance, length. Kinetic, velocity. This is load. Okay. Load or acceleration. Okay. Fine. Newtonian fluid of viscosity mu is undergoing laminar flow in a tube of R. Constant A, parabolic. Hagen-Poiseuille. Okay. This is 101 is end of semester. This is 1. Biofluids 1. That is the first day of class. Parabolic profile. Stress is 0 at R or 0. A peak between C and D. A reason. Stress is 0 at R. Okay. This is R0. This is at radius R. Stress is 0 at radius. Your endothelium, there won't be atherosclerosis. World will be absurd, but no heart diseases. At least this cardiovascular heart diseases, right? Unfortunately, shear stress doesn't work that way. Things are 0 here in the middle, and then where there is this fragile endothelium, you got this stresses. Okay. To do this is you can the velocity, so you can take the gradient of that, and you can see when this whether what is tau equals 0. Is it 0? You can ask that question, or is it tau if I substitute, or do I get a 0? You could also answer it that way. Okay. Just in case any of you are like, you didn't answer this question. Okay. And there is ISOR. ISOR is a way of committee teasing at you. Marks. Easy 2 marks. But can you get it? ISOR. And they'll, yeah. So ISOR is a way of committee teasing at you. So for example, this is, there might, yeah, again, there might be students non-biomedical students. So for those students' sake, so sinusoidal, there is a phasor representation. Voltage is impedance times current, right? Like that, you could do. Stress phasor is complex modulus times strain phasor. Where G is G is a like impedance like term. It characterizes frequency dependence. Okay, G technically is a function of omega. It has a real part, that is G dash, and an imaginary part, that is G double dash. Both are functions of omega. Okay, typically or generally, what they are saying is that G dash and G double dash are given. A purely resistive thing in current, no imaginary part is a resistor, right? Here, no imaginary part is elastic. Here, resistor is purely dissipative, but here this is purely, it stores. Okay, this is an elastic solid, and then whether it's both, the moment you got the two numbers, these are viscoelastic. The question is whether it's a solid or a fluid, right? So G double dash, if G dash me write down one thing, okay? This part is solid like. In phase, stress and strain in phase. This is stress and strain out of phase. This is fluid like. Okay. So G dash greater than G double dash. This is a viscoelastic solid. And G dash less than G double dash. This is a viscoelastic fluid. What is what? PQRS or so PQR or elastic solids. For an 8-bit digital DAC binary input, they're asking you whether you can do binary to decimal conversion. That is literally what they are asking you. This is map to 8 bits. Resolution. What is the smallest change that you can resolve? You can differentiate, right? That is 5 by 2 power 8 minus 1. What is this number? 0.01961. Okay. This is fairly simple. Now we have to do binary to decimal multiplied by resolution. That's your answer. Start with the last number. 1 into 2 power 0. So if everything else is 0, this is the smallest number possible. That is the resolution. Say, for example, 00000001 maps to the resolution, the smallest number possible. If I increase this by 1, it maps to 1 into 2 power 1 plus resolution. Okay, but not this number 10110111, right? This is either 1 into or 0 into. So I'm just going to write the powers of 2. This is power of 2. There is no power of 3. Okay. So I'm done with the 3 terms over there. And there are 3 terms over here. So this is 1 into 2 power. 3 is not there. 2 power 4. 2 power 5. 6 is not there. 2 power 7. The decimal to binary conversion going on. And this is your stage. Can we found how much is this? 2 power 5, 6 is not there, 2 power 7. The last number, okay? 6 is 0. 0 into 2 power 6 plus 1 into 2 power 7. 7 plus 2 power 5 plus 2 power 4 plus 2 power 2 plus 2 plus 1 into 0.019. Anyone get it? 3.588. I did give a reasonable explanation of that conversion. Binary to decimal, but smallest number maps to the resolution. Okay, then there are multiples of that number. How that happens? That's a question. Hey, this is summer. Okay, what what amplifier is this? Summer, or let's look at one. Okay, what is that amplifier? If you forget V2 V3, what is this? Summing, superposition plus non-inverter. Summer, yeah. If you don't recognize a summer superposition, just one input at a time. Sanity check. The loop is negative. Okay, this is not looped. Okay, and sanity check superposition plus this inverting amplifier. G is minus R feedback by R input. Okay, so take the output 2 minus of that becomes 10 by 5. Okay, for the first input. For the second input, everything is negative because I got a minus there. 2 into 10 by 4. K will cancel. Okay, minus 1 into 10k by 2k. So that should be your V out. How much is this? Of minus 5 minus 5 the minus 4. Minus 14. Let's do a quick. Y is f of x. If you know the error or relative error in x, how do you find relative error in y? One word. If you know relative error in x, you can find relative error in y. So this depends on the derivative there. Okay, now this function is slightly messy. You don't do derivative. Okay, you don't do this because this function exponential. You can technically do it this way. Any function you can do. So error in R is given, error in T is given, but it's exponential. The trick is take ln on both sides, get rid of the exponential, and a derivative of a ln is fairly simple. We have done that to derive volume expansion coefficients. We have done that to derive gauge factor, like that to Poisson's ratio. We have done that a couple of times. I'm going to do the same trick. Okay, so my R naught is exponential of beta into 1 minus t by 1 minus t naught. I'm going to take a ln on both sides. So this also you could write it as ln R ln R minus ln r naught. Take ln on both sides. So no, just to differentiate this. Okay. So differentiating ln r naught is a constant, minus beta t naught, that's a constant, 0. So this is going to be 1 by r. I will also have delta r. Differentiating that, I would have so the two constants, they became 0 each. Okay. This step we have done. And what do they want? Relative error in r is 10%. So this is del r by r. They want del t by t. So let's isolate that. Okay. What that says is del r by r is plus or minus 10%. On this side, you got 10%. That equals, this is plus or minus relative. So the sign really doesn't matter. Beta by t into delta t by t. So what they want is, what is relative error in t? They are asking for this. Beta is given, temperature is given. Can you find that? Plus or minus, okay? This is error. Either it's higher or lower. You do not know that. How much is that? You know beta, you know t. So beta is 3000, yes, 310. So beta by t is 10. 10% by 10 is 1%. And what you want is in percentage. Okay, fine. This is now the last 20 minutes of the discussion. At this stage, let's say, okay, somehow you forgot all of this. Okay, what is the number that you are going to enter for a question like this? Okay. This is, that is a suggestion. You could have entered it in many other questions, but typically there is, so far there has been one question. If you are lucky, there are 3-4 questions. Math, digital electronics, I will enter 0. Okay, this is not math, digital electronics. Okay. So last 20 minutes. Brain is not working. You don't recognize this a Wayne bridge oscillator. Are you going to enter? So there are some rules of thumb to NAT is no negative marks. Makes sense to guess something. And there are some sensible guesses, some rules of thumbs to guess sensible numbers. So which is where I'm asking everyone. What would you guess here? 1. But there is something better than 1 here. I told you something better than 1. The last 5 minutes I would do that, but before this question I would guess 1, 2 words. So we made this up. Which are C? This is R, this is R, this is C, this is C. They removed the confusion. Okay. Hey, can you quickly calculate how much this is? Into 3.4. Stick to SI, you are safe. Okay. Or which are, so RC is, RC, they have balanced it. So this is 1K into C, that is 0.1 into 10 power 6. 1 point, I get 1592.3 hertz. So the answer key is 1.5 to 1.7. Okay. See, I'm telling you something in the hopes of you getting additional 3-4 marks. Then there are this bunch of students or candidates. They'll mock me in YouTube for saying, hey, this is a well-known thing. In exam, they will go and not do this, right? Fine. Or else in the circuit shown below, root mean square error, IRMS at the resonant frequency. Resonance, and forget that there is only resistor in the resonance series circuit. The impedance is cancelled. The reactance is cancelled. Simple English, not simple English, slightly, in English, understandable English. This is purely resistive. That resistor is over here. What they are asking is current. VRMS is given. Both are RMS. So I'm just going to use the RMS value 240 by 60. 4 amps. Okay. Out of log 10 BMR. Okay, they have plot logarithm of BMR as a function of logarithm of M. It's a straight line. Okay, if you log plot, it's a straight line. M is a mass of person. Person BMR. Okay, this is a straight line. BMR is based on what, if child is 10 kg, 10 log 10 is 1. BMR is 600. What is the value here? Just tell me that one bit and I'll continue with the rest of the question. 10, M is 10, log 10 is 1. So in the axis I have plotted 1. What is the value corresponding to 1? Log 600. Right? Yes. 2.778. You want BMR in the straight line, you have to find with M is 100. Logarithm is 2. You want to know what this value is. The slope is given. A minus y1 by x minus x1 is M. Minus 2.778 by 2 minus 1 log plot, that is 0.75. Y, and your answer is the BMR. So you have to undo the log. power y. Y is 0.75 plus 2.778. Okay. And then 10 power answer, that is going to be 3372.9. Okay, rounded on nearest integer 3373. That is correct. Okay, 373. I think this is yeah. It'd be a decimal error, but the y I didn't write it down. But it's going to be that Newton-Raphson method is used to solve this. Okay, initial guesses is what is x1. They are throwing you marks right now. So f of x is this. And f dash of x 3x square minus 2. Okay, and then Newton-Raphson, you have to recall this. Xn plus 1 is xn minus f of n by f dash of n. Quickly, let's find what is, we need f of n. So f of 3 and f dash of 3. We know the function and its derivative. F of 3 is cube minus 2 into 3 minus 5. I suppose this is 16. This again 3 cube minus 2, 55. So that implies your xn is 3 minus 16 by 25. That is 2.36. So I'm evaluating this at 3. Xn is 3. Is technically not n, that is xn. I'm getting 2.36. Young's modulus, diameter, this, that, density, CT, ET, rho d. Okay. So will cancel. T and D will cancel. Okay, let me write down what is what. This is D and this is your T. This is your rho and this is your E. Okay. So stick to SI, you are good. Will cancel. I'm just going to, E is 1 into 10 power 6 because it's M power. That into T is 1. Okay. Divided by rho 1050, that is in SI, I leave it as such, divided by D 20. So 1 mm, 20 mm, the 10 power minus 8, 10 power minus 8 cancel. Square root of that is, yeah, cancel. That is 6.9 Moens Cortiver. 2 marks, just like that. Ideal massless spring constant, F is kx. So you're dealing with F is kx. Okay. It is cut into 5 equal parts. These 2 equal parts are connected in parallel. into 5 parts. So if I take a piece of spring, if I cut it into half, does stiffness increase or decrease? Most of you would have a rubber band. Take a rubber band, see stretching it, cut it into half, try pulling it apart. Is it more stiff or less stiff? Stiffness increases. You could do this experiment. You could feel it, right? Stiffness increases. Um, so you got K initially is 1 Newton per meter. This is, K cut. After cutting, you got 5 pieces. So stiffness becomes 5 Newtons per meter. Okay. So you got it increased. So you got 5 Newton and 5 Newton in parallel. Okay. And now more stiff or less stiff? The parallel thing, you got instead of one rubber band, you got two rubber bands. Is that going to be more stiff or less stiff? One of your friends here, another friend here, they are pulling this. With two people, do you get more stiffness or less stiffness? You get more stiffness. So idea is, so the question is, hey, do I do arithmetically add them up, or do I do harmonic addition? That is the question. In this case, they get added up. Okay. So K for parallel, K cut plus K cut. The stiffnesses add up. They increase. Okay. So here they will decrease. You will have to do a parallel resistance kind of thing. Here stiffness is increasing for a parallel thing. So K cut, it increases. That is 5 plus 5, and you got your 10 Newton per meter. This is the simplest, intuitive, relatable explanation for this. Okay, you could do some of the things that I asked you questions, and you can answer the answers yes or no yourself. So the factors are linear. This becomes 5 times. If I cut it by 5 times, increase by 5 times, and here adding them increased. You are not doing, you are not adding the inverses and taking inverse. Okay, you are treating as if they are in. Um, this would have reduced it by 2. The other option would have reduced it by 2. The parallel thing. This didn't happen. Okay, fine. Same thing is, this question, is it arithmetic average or harmonic average? It's weighted average, but it's weighted average in volume fraction. You are combining things in weight fraction. So option 1, you could do a harmonic weighted average, but this is confusing. Do I do a harmonic weighted average, or do I do a normal arithmetic volume fraction average? So if that confusion arises, my suggestion is, what is this? You want equal by weight, right? So I take HA, got 3 grams, and that's in a 1 centimeter cube. I got 3 grams of HA. How much PLGA should I take? I need 3 grams of PLGA. So how many ml should I take? How many centimeter, not ml, sorry, centimeter cube should I take? 1 gram has 1 centimeter cube has 1 gram. I need 3 grams, so I'm going to take 3 centimeter cube. I satisfied this equal weight criteria. Complicated math and all that. Easily converted that into, I put the criteria very, very easily. 3 grams of this, 3 grams of that. I tweak the volume for that. This corresponds to total weight is 6 gram in centimeter cube. What is the density corresponding to that? 6 gram mass of 6 gram and 4 centimeter cube. 3 plus 1, 4 centimeter cube. This, what is the density of the mixture? Gram and 4 centimeter cube is 1.5 gram per centimeter cube. That is what it means. 6 by 4 per unit centimeter cube, right? Scaffold has holes. It's 80% holes, 80% porous. Only 20% is material. So this density answer, take the mixture density. 80% is pores, holes, nothing is there, no density. Only 20% has density. And that is 0.3. Okay. That is what is the scaffold density. Fraction of the actual density. Actual density is 1.5. It 80% holds, nothing is there. That fraction is 0.2. Okay. Fine. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. Yeah, I kind of started 5-10 minutes late. Okay. I ideally like to finish this on time. Okay. So today we do have the luxury. Hey, this is, given few things, given the equation, given this parameters, find it, right? Mock test has questions like this, if you notice, almost the same question. Sigma 2 MPA in 4 weeks. This 4 is this 4. Sigma naught. .773 Pa, the unit of sigma. Okay. So the sigma at different time, sigma t is given, right? Sigma at different time is sigma naught minus 2 ln of what time do you want? 8. So that is minus 2 ln 8. 0.613. Rounded off to 2 decimal 0.61. Question is, sir, why you take log instead of ln instead of ln? So this is ln. T is base of e. What is given as base of e? I'm just doing what is given there. Okay, fine. Gyromagnetic ratio Larmor frequency, gamma hash, beta. Gamma hash is whether they give it or not for a proton, this is 42.58 megahertz per Tesla. So this is in Tesla, your answer will be in megahertz. Hey, 2 marks. This is one question you could answer based on units. They gave you a megahertz, they gave you a Tesla. Sorry, they gave you a megahertz per Tesla. They gave you a Tesla. If you multiply the two things, you get a megahertz. Even if you didn't know that formula, you didn't know what is gamma hash, what is B. Literally, look at the units and answer. Okay, so there is 2 more marks. 2 for guessing one, I suppose, 2 for magic frequency, 2 for this. Waveform bridge is used to measure strain as shown in the figure below. Okay, there is no finite bridge resistance, so this is fairly simple. So V out is del R by R V in. Magnitude of applied strain. Talking about strain, so I'm going to use gauge factor epsilon Bi for del R by R. Strain is given. This is given. What is G? G you have to presume. G is 1 plus 2 nu. Technically, if you don't know the material, it's not mentioned anywhere. You don't know the Poisson's ratio. Okay. I guess Poisson's ratio is 0.33. That would have put this as 1.66. And if you use that, your epsilon is out as 10 into 10 power minus 3 by 1 into 1 by 1.66. Rolled off to 2 decimal places. How much is this? Which kind of strikes me. So this is, I was kind of like, when I wrote it, I was like suspicious. Hey, there is something missing. So because they did not give this information, many students, most students who were there in the examination were confused. Hey, how do you find this? How do you find the strain, right? And then, so Shamayata challenged this, and the challenge got accepted. Okay, that is, she said, hey, material is not mentioned, so nu can vary by orders of magnitude. It can be 100, it can be 0.33, right? So the answer can go out of the answer key range. So they did correct the answer key range. Okay, so they are very reasonable here. Storage model is G dash collagen dash. Wait, this boils down to interpreting what this means. It scales as C cube. It is proportional to C cube. It's a constant times concentration cube. Okay, when concentration is 1, okay, so G dash is A, right, when C is 1. So you get 100 Pascal. A is 100 Pascal. And then G dash at C equals what they want is 3, right? 3 milligram per ml. Is 100 into 3 power cube. 3399327 700 Pascal. So this means it's proportional to a cube. Scale says that, it's proportional to the cube of that. Read it. The notation sometimes often is confusing if you read it on this. Okay. Cardiac output of a person 5 liter per minute. Aortic pressure is this. During exercise, cardiac output double. Again, a 2 scenario problem. This is 64 is 2 scenario, 65 is 2 scenario. Del P is QR. Where del P, this is right now the venous resistance is close to 0. This is aortic pressure. Del P is aortic pressure approximately. Q is cardiac output. R is the entire resistance of the vascular system. So systemic vascular resistance. So what they have given is 100 is 5 times R1. Okay. And then 110 is cardiac output doubles 10 times R2. It's a different resistance. Yeah, MAP, you could also write this. MAP is cardiac output into SVR. Yeah, systemic. You could also do that. Okay. So R2 by R1. What do they want? Percentage change. Oh, but you can solve for this. No, R1 is 20. R2 is 10 divided by 10. 11. What they want is how much LRS decreases 9. Decrease percentage is 9 divided by T. Percentage, this is answer is 9 divided by 20. Decrease with respect to the original value into 100%. So that is 45. Okay, so that brings us, we didn't leave any question, right? And I hope some of you had answer keys. I also had the answer key. I have already solved this. It's not the first time I'm solving this. So I think most of the keys do match, no issues. Verdict, the easy paper. And right now the syllabus, the important concepts, all of that have kind of crystallized. Crystallized as in like, now you know which 20% they are asking 80% of the questions from. You know that reasonably well. And often they are throwing you 2 marks. Just like that, right? What is important is you understand the question, most places. And that really is a bottleneck. The pattern is getting very predictable. Question pattern. Concepts are also getting predictable. So this is scoreable. Okay. And if you have 1 month of preparation left, solving and practicing the PYQs again and again suffices. Okay. That suffices. Keep doing that. My suggestion during preparation would be, there are always 5 more easy marks that you could grab. If you're scoring marks, you can score 5 more marks. You can make it to 8. That's a 150% increase, right? If you're scoring 15, you can get 20. If you're scoring 45, you can get 50. If you're scoring 70, you can get 75. 5 additional marks that are easy with respect to where you are. Look for that. Keep on consistency doing that. And your score should improve. Okay. And I hope what we did today will also be useful for everyone. Yeah. Okay, with that, just give me a couple of minutes. Yeah. During preparation, look for 5 easy mocks. Practice questions, solve them. Don't look at answers. Point number 1. Point number 2. During exam, survival first. That is what matters the most. Simple thing. Don't spend more than 30 minutes or something like that in any one single question. The moment you are more than 10, skip the question, move on. Okay. Fine. With that, let me just stop this recording.